This is the last topic of renal transplant under nephro disorders. Okay, so here we will see care of patient with renal transplant. So when the transplantation has to be done from a donor, so usually they prefer with the same blood group, otherwise it will be rejected. So many times we see it will be spouse or parents or siblings or whole close relatives giving the kidney, and it can lead to rejection also if there is a sepsis. So this is something very costly, expensive, and very difficult procedure, we should say, whether a patient's body will accept the kidney in spite of checking the blood group and receiving it from the donors of the same family, but still there are lots of complications. Okay, so now when we say nursing care, it is very critical and crucial. And the patients like PPE, now how they wear for COVID-19. So usually when the transplant is done, the patient will be kept aloof, alone, okay, with hardly one or no attenders immediately after the surgery. And the nurses also will wear all kinds of protective measures so that the nurse does not introduce any kind of infection to the patient. Okay, so we will see what is the pre-operative care. So we have to provide routine pre-operative care as outlined. You know that, right? Maintaining NPO, carrying out the physician's orders, giving antibiotics, skin preparation for the patient, and then giving IV fluids, blood monitoring, blood group, then checking of any communicable diseases, hepatitis B or HIV infection, checking all the electrolytes, and then consent has to be obtained. Consent plays an important role. If consent is not there, we cannot take the patient. Then we have to monitor and maintain the normal vital signs. Just see, okay, monitor the vital signs and maintain the normal, functioning of the patient. See if the patient's health is doing well, or if he has developed any fever or cough. Consultation from the anesthetist and then consultation from the dentist has to be done. Pulmonologist to check the functioning of the lungs has to be done. All these are normal things which we do, right? Pre-operatively, cutting off nails, skin preparation, removal of hearing aids, any dentures are there that has to be removed, eyelashes, artificial, that has to be removed, no nail paint has to be done, SpO2 monitoring has to be done. Okay, so all this has to be taken care. So assess knowledge and feeling about the procedure, answering questions and clarifying information as needed. Listen and address concerns about surgery, the source of donor organ, possible complications. So you tell them everything about the procedure, donor, then what could be the complication even after the surgery, that has to be told to the patient. Continue dialysis as ordered. So till then the patient has to undergo dialysis. We cannot say, oh, the patient is posted. So until then the patient has to survive. So dialysis has to be continued, and replacement therapy also is required to manage fluid and electrolyte balance to prevent uremia prior to surgery. So continue with all the procedure that we were still doing for the patient. We have to administer immunosuppressive drugs as ordered before surgery. Okay, so that is very important that you get all the drugs which has been prescribed by the surgeon before the surgery has to be given. Immunosuppression is initiated before transplantation to prevent immediate graft rejection. Now why should we give immunosuppressive? Because this graft, it is something of foreign which is coming and going to stay in the body. So when it receives, it should not reject, telling that this is a foreign body which has come. To suppress that, we have to give immunosuppressive drugs. Okay, next we'll go to post-operative care. So we will see what are the various post-operative care for the patient that we have to give. So provide routine post-operative care as outlined in chapter already we have seen. Okay, so routine post-operative care you have to give. Then maintain urinary catheter, IO chart, patency, closed system. Catheter patency is vital to keep the bladder decompressed. So you cannot keep the bladder full. So make sure that the urine is always removed. Usually even surgery, after the surgery also we make sure that urinary bladder, the urine is drained. If there is no output, immediately we have to inform to the doctor, the surgeon, whoever is in charge of the patient, and then as per their order we have to carry out the orders. Okay, keep the bladder decompressed and prevent pressure on the suture line, because kidney is there only, right? Okay, so automatically if the bladder if it is distended, it leads to pressure in the kidney, which should not be done. A closed drainage system minimizes the risk of injury of UTI. And then measure urine output every 30 to 60 minutes initially. We have to check. Careful assessment of urine, because we will get to know fluid balance, transplant function. acute tubular necrosis, if there is any necrosis also can be found out. It is a early complication, common early complication. So we have to check with the urine output, usually due to tissue ischemia, loss of blood during the period between removal of the kidney from the donor and transplantation. Oliguria is an early sign. So if there is an ischemia, oliguria will be there. Okay, so we have to be very careful. And then if there is a necrosis, we would be able to know if no urine output. So we have to check with any complication like oliguria, anuria related to acute tubular necrosis or any tissue ischemia, which can happen while the transplant of the kidney is done. Then we have to monitor the vital signs. Then we have to check the hemodynamic pressure closely. Diuresis may occur immediately. So sometimes the patient will be having, increased urination, diuresis. Okay, so which can lead to hypovolemia in the patient. So we have to be very careful. Then low cardiac output and impaired perfusion of the transplanted kidney. So we have to be very careful. So maintain fluid replacement, replace urine output over the period. So check, see if there is diuresis, then adequately fluid replacement has to be done, okay, through the IV, and tissue perfusion has to be maintained. Then if retention is there, administer diuretics as per the order. It can be loop or osmotic diuretics like furosemide or mannitol may be used to promote post-operative diuresis. Okay, and then if retention is there, then remove the catheter within 2 to 3 days. If there is a urinary catheter, we can remove it. Encourage the patient to void, okay, 1 to 2 hours, every 1 to 2 hours, and we can assess the frequency for signs of any urinary retention following catheter removal. Then the bladder may be atrophied prior to surgery, reduces its capacity. Urinary retention places stress on suture lines and increases the risk of infection. So prevent all kinds of urinary retention for the patient. Tell him to void, okay, so that otherwise the patient will end up having risk of infection and we would not know. Okay, so usually post-operative diuresis. So sometimes what happens after the removal of the catheter, the patient will be having, retention. So that also has to be relieved. So we have to check the monitor serum electrolytes, and we have to do the renal function test. We have to check all the, urea, creatinine, and find out if the kidney is functioning normally. These tests are used to monitor graft function and fluid and electrolyte status. Electrolyte imbalances may develop in transplanted kidney begins to function and diuresis occurs. Sometimes immediately you have diuresis and electrolyte imbalance will be there. So we have to check and monitor if everything is normal. Then elevated serum creatinine shows sign of rejection or graft failure. So as I told you, okay, so that should be done. Monitor for possible complication. Now moving on to the complication. So what could be the various complications that you can see? First one could be hemorrhage. Okay, so from an artery and venous anastomosis that we have done, okay, can be either acute or insidious. Indicators include swelling at the operative site, increased abdominal girth, signs of shock. Okay, so if there is a fistula rupture also, it can lead to hemorrhage, shock, increased abdominal girth. It includes changes in the vital signs and level of consciousness. Hemorrhage is a surgical emergency requiring prompt recognition and treatment to preserve the graft. Okay, then urethral anastomosis failure occurs, causes urine leakage into the peritoneal cavity. So if there is a urethral anastomosis already which has done, if it breaks or if there is a failure, it can leak into the peritoneal cavity, and it may be marked by decreased urine output can be there with abdominal swelling and tenderness. So that has to be assessed. Failure of urethral anastomosis requires surgical intervention. Again, surgery has to be done. Then renal artery thrombosis, that is a blood clot that can happen in the renal artery. So it is characterized by an abrupt onset of hypertension. So when you say that there is a renal artery thrombosis, patient can end up having hypertension and decreased GFR. So renal artery thrombosis can result in transplant failure. So after the transplant, if there is hemorrhage, find out why, where is it is happening. Okay, so that surgical emergency, if it is required, then that has to be carried out at the operative site. Then urethral anastomosis failure, leakage into the peritoneum, urine leakage into the peritoneum. It can lead to abdominal swelling and tenderness. So surgical intervention is required. Then renal artery thrombosis, again, it leads to hypertension and reduced GFR, which indicates that there is a failure of the transplant. Then you have infection due to immunosuppression medications we will give. So the patient is prone to develop a lot of infection and continuing risk. So the inflammatory process is blunted and infection may not significantly elevate the temperature. So here the patient might not have the temperature. We have to monitor the signs and level of consciousness, cloudy or malodorous urine. Look at the urine. If it is cloudy or malodorous, it indicates, or purulent pus, okay, it indicates that there is a infection in the injury site or in the incision site where the surgery has been done. Then prevention and prompt treatment of infection is particularly important in the immunosuppressed patient, because already the immune system is suppressed. So we have to be very, very careful when we find these signs. Immediately that has to be treated. Then we have to include the following in pre-discharge teaching for the client and family. The use and effects of prescribed medication, including antihypertensive drugs, immunosuppressive drug, prophylactic antibiotics and others are ordered. We have to monitor the vital signs, especially we have to check the temperature and weight of the patient. Give them a detailed information about all the medications and they have to continue with the medication. Okay, manifestation of organ rejection has to be taught. So how do they know that their organ has been rejected or kidney is not functioning? Okay, so there will be signs of swelling and tenderness over the graft site, that is where the kidney is there. Okay, so they will have CVA pain, fever, joint aching, weight gain, decreased urinary output. Stress the importance of promptly reporting signs and symptoms to the physician. So all these are taught to them so that they will report to the physician immediately. Ordered or recommended dietary restrictions such as carbohydrate, sodium intake, increased protein should be given. Restriction of carbohydrates and sodium has to be done. Then measures to prevent infection such as avoiding crowds and obviously ill individual. So you have to keep themselves away from getting infected. So the client and family will manage care after discharge and therefore need a good understanding of what to expect, how to monitor graft status and measures to reduce the adverse effects of medication. We have to provide psychological support, address concern, ask their fear and anxiety, try to alleviate, provide information as much as needed. Then the client knows that transplant success is not guaranteed. It is not guaranteed. Anytime it can be rejected. So teach them the signs and symptoms of rejection. And patient should be able to manage a chronic disease independently and is used to have a degree of control. He cannot be dependent on somebody. Give him that assurance that he will be able to manage though it is a chronic disease. Then providing information and allowing the client to retain control relieves anxiety and it improves his recovery. So with this, the nephro disorders is over for second BSc. Okay, for second GNM, from tomorrow we will see assessment of male genitourinary function as it is included in your syllabus. Okay.